The next ability to be discussed is called receptivity. Someone actively using the ability is called a receptive. The category the ability falls under is equally feeling-based and knowledge-based. The manifestations of the ability are actually incredibly varied, so we'll come back to that in a sec. Now, with receptivity itself, it's important to look at what it is. A lot of people associate the words receptive with ideas of openness. So if you're receptive, it means receiving. And that's not what a receptive is. So don't confuse that. Receptive isn't a simple addition to a talent. So if you are a receptive empath, it doesn't mean you're a wide open empath. It's not actually what that word means. So just so we're on the same page. What receptivity is actually more about a truth detector, not to be confused with things like a lie detector. Receptivity allows you to kind of look at information and get impressions about whether it's real or not, or at least potentially real or not. With receptivity, it's an incredibly complex gift, although it has very simple end results. With it, it's really varied on how it will manifest. Every single person, receptivity can manifest in a number of different ways and is really very individualistic that way. But the end result is that we'll get a sense of something being true, of it being right. Now, that's not about a value judgment or about a, personal opinion. It's just it's a vibration that just says that this feels right to me. Now, with that, it's important to look at personal values and personal judgments can often cloud receptivity, because if somebody says something that I want to agree with, even if it's real or not, receptivity, because it is so complicated and isn't really a big, powerful, in-your-face kind of gift, it's very easy to overwrite with your own personal thoughts or feelings on the subject. So receptivity does require a very deep amount of experience. It requires a very in-depth internal perception because it does manifest in very subtle ways. Now, with that, it's also important to look at some things like schooling. When we're looking at higher education especially, we end up having oftentimes a lot of topics that aren't based on sound theory, they're based on just pure theory. We have this whole number of ideas on how it works and we just don't know which one it is. In that environment, receptivity can actually become detrimental, because if you discount all the things you're learning because one of those theories feels right and the others don't, you'll lose marks. Because in schooling of that nature, it's not about being right or wrong. And you could win by having a big, huge argument and a big fight over what's right and, prove your position and maybe win, but it's not worth the effort. So with schooling, receptivity is important not to really focus on and just focus on what you're being taught. When the subject's over in real life, you can apply the reality, but with school, it's not about you being right or wrong, it's about you learning the information you're being taught. So I wanted to include that because it's very easy to lose sight of what's really important, and being right isn't always the most important thing, especially in that environment. Now, because receptivity offers such a tremendous varied application, there isn't really any one thing we can do to develop it. Receptivity is one of those things like intuition itself. You can just sort of trust and it will manifest or it won't. There's nothing you can do to really make it happen. You can sit there and kind of filter information or thoughts or ideas through your head and try and rate them or see if they feel real, see if they don't. And that's about really the best that we have. Now, receptivity is a wonderful gift in the sense that you can also filter out really good pieces of information from vast amounts of fake information. As an example, if you're watching things like science fiction television or movies, a lot of times there are real solid realities in the mix that often get lost in the fantasy, if you will. And receptivity is a wonderful gift to pick out those gems, to pick out those pieces that are real and still have the entertainment value of the rest because it's not really relevant. So with receptivity, as I'm trying to get across, it's just one of those things you just have to really pay attention to really kind of look at your life and look at what you're thinking and feeling and experiencing and see if it feels real. Now, the greatest thing about receptivity is it can actually lead you to discovering a tremendous amount about yourself, because you can use it to determine if what you think or feel is real and delve deeper through that medium. Now, what that means is that I can start with any thought or idea, and if it isn't real, I can look at what it connects to. What's the next thought in line, and look at that one. And it allows me to sort of trim the fat from the meat kind of idea, right? I can get rid of all the thoughts and feelings that aren't real because my receptivity allows me to see they're not real. And to do that, it almost requires sort of an absence of emotion. You almost have to come and be detached from yourself, because again, receptivity is so minor and subtle that it's often easy to lose sight of in favor of what you think or what you feel personally, regardless of what's truth or not truth. And so that's kind of important. But receptivity is a great gift because it will allow you to learn vast amounts of information in a relatively short span of time, because you can focus on the real. And at the end of the day, that's really a very valuable, beneficial tool, especially when we're dealing with topics like this one. So, like I said, all you can do is just sort of filter information through you and see if it feels right to you or not. And again, don't get caught up on right and wrong. Just whatever it feels to you, work with that and allow it to develop naturally. And at the end, that's all you can do. It's a tremendous ability to learn to trust, because it really doesn't have any other option than to just learn trust. So there's receptivity. Go and play, have fun, and learn trust.